Hello there, my fellow sewers and stitchers of all over the world. Okay, today, this is actually my first video like this, so I'm very excited to share this with you guys. I'm going to be teaching / showing you my method, at least of what I've discovered, on how to make heart-shaped squares, stitch squares, quilted squares, whatever you want to call them. I will show you an example of what they look like. This is also the optional project that is going to be in this video as well. You can do this. I'm going to show you in depth how to make one square, but then you can go on ahead, and if you want to make like a full, it would be like equivalent to a full quilt block, then you would make 4 of them, and I'll show you my process too of quickly how I make 4 of them and put them all in like a block pattern. And then with that block, you can do whatever you want. I will show you my project idea of what I have been making. I have been sharing these on my Etsy shop. Everybody is loving these. These are the pillows. Let me actually show you one that isn't filled all the way yet so that you can actually see the design a little bit better here on a flat surface. So this is like an example of the block itself would be this white part here and what all is inside of it. Again, I'm going to show you how to make one of these heart blocks in depth, and then from there you can repeat the steps 3 more times to make 3 more blocks in whatever colors you'd like, whatever fabric you like. And then if you want to, in this video, I'll also show you how to join them together with a little strip down the center, and then you can make an actual block that you can put on, like this pillow here that I put on with this nice rainbow multicolored border that I found as well. And you can even make pillows like this, or you can incorporate them in a blanket, or whatever project you've got in mind. So to go on ahead and get started, you're going to need a couple pieces of fabric. Again, I'm just showing you one block at a time so I don't confuse you or anything, right? So this is just to make one heart block that would be part of, if you want to make a full quilt block, again, you'll do this 4 times. So to do this, you're going to need 2 strips like this in whatever color. This is going to be the color of the actual heart itself. 2 of these measuring 2.5 by 4.5 inches. I'll also put all the measurements down below if you need to check again. But 2.5 by 4.5, you'll need 2 of those for one heart. You'll also need something to use as the background. I'm using, you'll probably want something pretty neutral to offset your color here. I'm just using this simple white, it's not really textured, but just this white fabric with tiny polka dots on it. There's no wrong side on this fabric, which really helps with something like this. But if there is a wrong side, just be mindful of that as we're going. And in this, whitish, kind of a neutral fabric, whatever you want to use, I'm using white here. You're going to need 4 1 by 1 inch. I know, very tiny, very difficult to cut. Don't have to cut it completely perfect. It's whatever it's going to be. 4 of these 1 by 1 inch little tiny blocks in this color. You'll also need 1 square that is 2.5 by 2.5 inches in the white color, and 1 square that is 4 by 4 inches in this color. Now, to keep this in mind, we're actually going to get started by cutting these in half, so they're actually going to be diagonal. I'm going to go ahead and put these other pieces aside really quickly, and again, we're just going to cut these on the diagonal. If you've got like a roller thing, I do not. That really makes it a little bit easier, but if not, just do your best. You can even, if your fabric will allow you to, you can fold it in half, kind of make a crease, right? And then you can open and then just cut on that crease. That's something I like to do, or you can use pencil to draw a straight line if you need a little bit of help getting it straight. Otherwise, just do your best cutting it corner to corner. These are going to be our smaller diagonal pieces. You're going to need both of these pieces for one heart block. Now for the larger one, we're going to cut this one, this 4 by 4 inch piece square. We're going to cut this in half diagonally too. Again, I'm going to go on ahead and cut this diagonally from corner to corner just as best I can. This pattern is pretty forgiving, so if it's not 100% perfect, don't worry about it. And then we're actually only going to need 1 of these diagonals per heart. So if you are doing this multiple times, if you want to do the full block and do all 4 hearts at once, like I'm going to do in a second, you're going to only need 2 of these squares because you'll cut it in half, and this will be for 1 heart, this will be for a 2nd heart, and then you'll do it again for hearts 3 and 4. But for right now, I'm just going to leave this one out. I'm going to put this aside for later. Now from here, we're going to put these aside for a second. We're not going to need them quite yet. We're going to take our 2 colored pieces and our 4 1-inch blocks. Now each of these 4 1-inch blocks, you're going to do the same thing, but we're not going to cut them. We're going to fold them in half, and then you can, if your fabric will let you, just press it across and you can see the line pretty well. That's what I like to do. If not, if the crease isn't working or you can't quite see it, use a pencil or some chalk or something. I'll just go on ahead, and for the sake of keeping this video easy to follow, I'm going to make a light line along that diagonal so you guys can see. And again, we're going to do that for all 4 of these. So again, you don't have to draw the line if you don't want to, if you can see it pretty well. I usually don't because I can eyeball it. But if not, go on ahead and make a little line from diagonal to diagonal. Just sketch it with a pencil really quickly. And again, for all 4 of these blocks. And again, if you didn't cut like perfect 1-inch by 1-inch squares, totally fine. Your corner might not be perfectly from corner to corner. Like for example here, I fold this in half and it goes from here to kind of here because I kind of made this a little bit bigger than 1 inch across. So I'm just going to go from this diagonal along the line all the way down to the corner. Then if you want to, you can, but you don't have to. Trim the edge off to make it actually perfect corner to corner. Now from there, with each of these 4, like this, we're going to go on ahead and pin or clip. I like using these nice nifty clips that I just got not that long ago. Make it a little bit faster than using traditional pins, but either way, it doesn't matter. We're going to pin or clip them to the corners, the top 2 corners of each of these. And you want the diagonal to be from corner to corner on the piece itself. So you don't want to do it like this, right? You want the piece to match so that the pencil line or your fold line is facing each of the edges on your fabric. Then I'll pin that side, I'll pin this side. I'm going to do the same to this piece here. Nice and easy, we can get these all done at once. Clip it there, or again, if you're using pins, totally works too. That. So now you can see I've got them pinned up there. Even if we put this together, even though we haven't sewn it already, you can see with the lines that it already kind of looks like the top of the heart shape here, which is like magical. Okay, so from here we're going to go on ahead and I'm going to take you over to my sewing machine and we're going to get started with sewing these pieces. Okay, so over here at my sewing machine, I'm just using some like gold thread for this. You can use whatever color you want really. If you want to be proper and use the color that actually matches your background color, that'd probably be best. But because I like to be a little economical, these are not going to be visible stitches in your project. So typically when it's not visible stitches for me personally, I just like to use whatever leftover thread I've got that I'm trying to get rid of, so that I don't have to go out and buy more thread, right? Just a little sewer to sewer tip there is what I personally like to do. So what we're going to do is bring up one of these, and essentially all you're going to do is along these lines that we marked, we're going to make a stitch all the way across here from corner to corner on each of these 4 1-inch blocks. I'm going to go ahead and pull my thread down. I'm going to try to be as precise as I can. You might have to take out your clip or your pin as you go. I'll go on ahead and take it out since I've got it pressed down into place. And again, I like to backstitch just once or twice. And get my machine to wake up today. She's a little bit tired and slow at the moment. Just like that. That's all you're going to need on that. So you can see we did that line just over top the line that we already drew, or the crease you made from corner to corner. And again, repeat this on all 4 of our pieces that we have pinned down. You can see there's my first piece, completely done for the moment. I'll put that aside. Bring my other piece up, and we'll do the exact same on these. And there's my second piece as well. Alright, so now that I've got those 2, now this is kind of optional. If you want to, you can. I do kind of recommend this, especially for beginners. You're going to want to take the inside of this piece, this is going to be the visible piece, and fold the back in and up, and then go and you can press this with an iron. Otherwise, you can just finger press it like I'm going to here. And you're going to do this again on all 4 of these pieces we just did. So taking it along the line that we sewed, we're going to fold that back and bring the fresh piece forward. Just like this. And again, if you want to take your iron and iron these out so it looks like that on the front, these pieces are folded down like a square on the back. That can sometimes be really helpful. Otherwise, just finger press them and leave them to the side. I'll do the same with these. Just pull both of them forward, finger press them down. So again, pause if you want to go and press those with an iron and be, proper. I'm not always the most proper with my stuff, but if you want to, go for it. Now, taking these, we can see these 2 together. Now we need to sew these 2 pieces together. So just as we've got them here like this, we're going to fold them up right sides together. Just like this, matching the corners as best we can. I'm going to use my handy dandy clips again. And again, up here, whether you finger pressed it or pressed it with an iron, make sure these are still folded open. Okay, so we can see that we've got like a square shape here of our original piece, and when we flip it over, a square shape here of the original piece with that stitch in between. And I'm going to clip that there. Now if you want to check yourself before you go and sew this down, you can open it and see how this is going to be the start of our heart. But again, from here, right along this line, go ahead and go and stitch it. You can use whatever, seam allowance. I don't usually pay attention to seam allowances because my old machine doesn't have one on it. But I'm going to go about, let's see, usually it's about 1/4 of an inch to, I go about 1/8 of an inch in, really. I try to keep it kind of shorter than the 1/4 inch seam allowance, because if you go in too far, you might start to lose your crease up here. So it is kind of good to keep it open a little bit more. So to use a little bit smaller seam allowance, like I am going to do about 1/4 of an inch, or excuse me, 1/8 of an inch, 1/2 of 1/4, 1/8, math, okay. So going ahead, and I'm going to take this piece back over to the machine and sew this. Okay, coming back over here, you can go on ahead and open up your beautiful design here that we got so far. Now we're going to cut this into, because we've got the top here, right, that looks like a heart, but the bottom, it just looks like a big fat square. So we need to actually cut it to make it a diagonal shape at the bottom. You can either do this free-handed, or if you've got, I've got this, I don't even know where I got this thing. It's not even supposed to be for sewing, it's for my other art stuff, but I don't have one of those, some quilters like to have like those actual measurement things that are like the actual square version of these, but I just got this triangle one. So what I'm going to do is just use it to my advantage because I've got it laying around, and just lay it down so that I've got like a corner here at the bottom. And then I can kind of just gauge making it perfect line side to side, right, like this. And then from here, again, taking just like a pencil or something, I can make some really light lines here on either side. Or again, if you've got like, even like the corner of a box or something, you guys, you could lay down just to, you know, make, like, basically you're just making a 90-degree angle like this to get the nice tip of it. And then from here, we're just going to cut that along the line that we just made. Very gently. I'm just going to try my best to stay within the lines. just try my best. Mantra of the sewer. I'm just doing my best. Something I say every day. Okay. Then these two pieces, if you find another project that you want to use little tiny pieces like this for, you can. Otherwise, just toss them out, because that's what I do. So we don't have any use for them at this point. So now we've got our actual heart here. This is the actual heart, you guys. We made a heart. Yes. All right, awesome. So now from here, all we have to do is just add some of these corner pieces to make it an actual square, so you can incorporate it in whatever project you want to do. If you want to like sew it as like a patch on, you know, a pillow with just this patch. I've done that before. Or you can add it to like a purse, a handbag. You can add it to like an article of clothing. You can get really creative with this. So we need to make it an actual square though, to make it easier for you to add to another project, to whatever design you're going to do. So we're going to start by taking these two smaller corner to corner pieces, the smaller two of this whole triad of three. We're going to put them on either side like this, and they're going to be a little bit bigger than the heart itself, so don't worry about it being, you're going to have excess fabric that you're going to cut off in a minute. So don't worry about that, but we're going to put them, again, right sides together, so you definitely want, if they're, I don't have a right or wrong side with this fabric, but whatever the right side of this fabric is, you're going to want to face it on top of the heart that you've got here. And again, don't worry about making it exactly corner to corner here, because it's not going to, right? Just line it up along this edge so that you've got enough fabric that's overlapping each corner, because it is going to be bigger than the heart behind it. So you want a little bit excess fabric, that way we make sure that we've got it on there right and we can trim it off later. So go on ahead and pin or clip these two sides into place here. And then from here, yep, you guessed it, we're going to sew each of these down. I'm going to use 1/8 of an inch seam allowance once again. You can use 1/4 if you want to now, because we've got the space for it, but totally up to you. But I'm going to go ahead and sew these down so that when we pull it back, it's going to be the start of our square that we'll finish off with this piece. So coming over here, we'll just do one piece at a time. I mean, obviously one side at a time. You can't do both at once. That would be interesting to find out how you would do that. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and again from corner to corner, and you are, as I lose my thread out of my needle here, no. You are going to have some excess hangover from this diagonal piece. So you don't have to go all the way to the corner of this diagonal piece, but just make sure you're stitching it so that it is, you know, attaching to the piece behind it. And again, don't forget to back stitch along your edges. It's going to really help when you go to add it to other, whatever you do next with this patch, because we don't want it to fall apart on us. Especially after all this hard work. We don't want it to fall apart, no. And again, this side too, you don't have to go all the way to the corner of this piece because it's going to overhang. Just to make sure that it's adhered to the piece underneath. So you can see here, I definitely have a little bit of overhang, but that's okay because we're going to cut it back into a square shape later. So going ahead and do the same thing with the other side. Also, it helps you guys to make sure that this square shape here is still laying flat down and it's not coming up or folding or creasing or anything. It's going to help you out a little bit later when you add it to whatever your project's going to be too. Just like that. Again, we'll be able to open it up. Now we'll take it back to the table and we just have one piece left to add. All right, bringing it back over here. Again, this is another place where if you want to be proper and you want to like get out an iron and press this, you totally can. Press that seam out so that we can open it like this. Otherwise, if you're like me and you just don't feel like it at the moment. I mean, honestly, you guys, am I a proper seamstress? No, but I do what I can, and that's what counts. I do things my own way, so, and also that's what counts too. So, we're going to open this up again. We're going to have to trim it a little bit later, but again, that comes later. So, we're going to take our final edge piece here that's also at a diagonal, and this is going to go along the top. So we're going to put it here, right sides together again, and again, when it opens up, it's going to look like this. So that we've got a full, you know, square shape that we can add to whatever. But again, we're going to take this up here and pin it along this top edge. Again, you're probably going to have a little bit, at least, of overhang on either side. If you didn't iron these pieces, just make sure they're pulled pretty tight. These pieces on the edge, make sure they're pulled back pretty tight when you go to clip this together. Just to keep it neat as possible. So even though I don't like to iron absolutely everything, I still like to keep things a little bit neat. So that again, when we open it, it's going to look like this for our patch design. So let's go ahead and sew this, and then you're done with this part. If you want to just do this part of the project, just sew that and you'll be good to go. Otherwise, stick with me and I will show you a little bit further in creating like our pillow design that I'm going to show you. So again, bringing it back over here, you're going to have just a little bit, maybe not so much overhang on these. With this clip so I can see better. Jab my needle in there without losing my thread, as I always do. Hello. Hashtag sewing probs. Okay. And then again, if you want to just do about 1/4 or 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, I'm not really picky about my seam allowances because I've got this old-fashioned machine here that doesn't even have markers for seam allowances, so I always just guess on my own anyway. Again, perfection is not everything when we're sewing, you guys. It's not everything. But we do want things to look nice. We want to enjoy the process and enjoy doing it. At least I'm a strong believer in that, and I don't think that stressing about getting something exactly perfect, like to the textbook perfect, is always super useful. In my mind, it doesn't have to be perfect, just as long as you're doing it and you're trying. That's what really counts, right? So then from here, we'll be able to open this up, and then again, look at that. Beautiful, beautiful. We've got our heart-shaped patch. So you guys, now from here, again, this is typically, I will iron these patches at this point when I've gotten this far. I don't like to do it exactly every single step of the way, right? So from here is where I would probably go on ahead and iron it, and then I would go on ahead and maybe like use this corner thing again, and I would like measure and like trim off to make this a perfect square on both of these sides, from corner to corner. But again, I usually do that after I iron them, and I usually iron them all at once. So I'm going to make these in 3 other colors, and then I'm going to show you how to put it together to make like one, like a quilt block, right? Like in the pillows that I showed you. So to do that, we're going to make these heart designs 3 more times. So you can rewind the video if you need to watch step by step again. Otherwise, I'm just going to show you the whole process. I'm going to do them, whip them out really fast all at once. So I'm going to put this one to the side. And I already did pink. So now I'm going to do one in green, blue, and orange. Okay, so now I have completed 4 of these heart patches in all different colors. Of course, you can do whatever colors you want, so on and so forth. And now from here is when now I'm going to take these over to my ironing board, and I am going to iron these kind of quickly just so I get them really nice and flat and a little bit neater looking. And then I am going to trim the edges again just into a nice square shape with this corner edge thing just to make sure, you know, it's nice and even and all. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. And then I'm also going to show you how to put these together into what would be like one quilt block, which is really simple. We just add a couple strips of fabric in between all 4 of these. So you're getting really close to getting done with your block if you're just making one block for something. Very close getting there. Getting it done, you guys. Awesome. Alright, so now I've got my 4 blocks here. I'm going to lay them out. So now if you want to make a full block out of this, you're going to arrange them like so. So that all 4 corners are pointing in. I like to alternate my colors like this. Now we're going to connect them. And to do this, you're going to need 2 strips. One is going to be 10 inches long, 2 are going to be about 5 inches long, or are going to be 5 inches long. And again, we're going to have a little bit of overhang probably. Well, maybe not on this one, but on the short ones we probably will. So this is going to be kind of like a 10 by 10 quilt block. If you want to, you can actually make it bigger. If you want to do a 12 inch, that's totally fine too. Just add an extra inch. Just make a 12-inch strip and then 6 and 6, right? You can also think of it as you could just cut 2 10-inch strips and then cut them in half. Now the width of these, you're probably like, okay, I know how long it needs to be, but how's the width, girl? Okay, the width, in the original pattern that I was going off of, I kind of altered it for myself. It was only an inch. I found that that made it kind of small in between. So I go about, let's see, what did I do? About 1.25 inches, I think. 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches. So it's up to you how wide you want to make that. It's just going to be the space in between these. I usually do 1.25. So that I have plenty for seam allowances and it doesn't get too tiny after the seam allowances are done. So we're going to arrange the first one straight across. We're not going to do that one yet. We're going to do the 2 little ones first that are going to be above and below these. With right sides together, you might want to do one of these at a time. Pin it right side to right side. Again, my fabric doesn't have a wrong side. And again, these strips are going to want to be whatever your background fabric is, if you didn't already catch that. So on this one, I'm going to do right side to right side on this one. I'm going to go over to the machine, I'm going to sew that, I'm going to open it. Whoops, if I can actually get it to clip. Okay, once it's sewn then I'll come back, I'm going to open it just so you're kind of looking ahead. It'll be like this, and then I'll sew this side onto this side here. But I'm going to put that on that one. This one I'm going to do right side to right side on this one as well. And again, pins or clips, whatever you've got available, totally fine, totally works. Just like that. Now I'm going to leave this as is, and again I'm going to go over to my machine and I'm going to sew these 2 up really quickly. Just again, 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, whatever you've been working with, might as well just do that. I again like to do 1/8 on these just so I've got a little bit more width in between each of the patches. So again, let's go ahead and sew those up and then we'll be back and then we'll flip it, reverse it, flip your thing down, flip it and reverse it, and then we'll do the other 2. And again, make sure you are back stitching every time you make these sort of lines so that it's really nice, and especially on these because they're going to be pulled kind of taut. When we go to piece it all together, they will be pulled kind of taut and we don't want it to rip in the middle or along the edges. So do make sure that you are back stitching. Now I've got those 2 done. I'm going to put them back in place and make sure I did it the right way. I have had times where I meant to do it that way and then I accidentally sewed it like this and then I put the patch on this side of the patch instead. So just be attentive when you're doing this so that you don't accidentally have a heart going this way in the middle of your design. Now, like I said, from there, as I put it back together here, I'm just going to flip it, this piece over top, and do right side to right side along this other edge on both of these. You can even open it to check and make sure that's what I'm doing right there. That's correct. And the same thing with this upper one. I'm just going to flip this over, line up my edges. Make sure I have everything pressed down along the edge the way it was when I ironed it out, so that it's nice and flat. Especially if you do decide to do a blanket or a quilt with this, you'll want it to lay nice and flat. The pillows are a little bit more forgiving with that, with the seams and everything, but now I'm going to take these 2 back over to the machine. I'm going to sew these along the side I just clipped. bringing these pieces back over here the way I want them to lay out, like this. Now from here, pretty easy, pretty simple. Now we're just gonna piece these two sections together using this strip in between. So just like before, what we're going to do, make sure right side to right side fabric, flip it over. And this is where, if you want to iron this out, you can. It might help you. Otherwise, just make sure that you're pulling this really tight. Like we said, these seams are going to be really taut. So we want to pull it really nicely. And maybe a lot of times when I'm doing this, I like to start clipping or pinning from the center outward. So I like to hold it down as it's really tight here and put a pin on either side of these, you know, seams of the strip we just did in between. And then from there, it's going to hold it pretty well in place for me so that I can go ahead and just put some clips or pins on either side. This side here. And pull it tight to this side here. And then again, I'm going to go over to the machine. I'm going to sew this, I'm going to take it out, and then I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to do the same thing with this strip here. You can also, I didn't mention this before, it actually doesn't matter which side you're sewing on, just as long as you're going along that edge. Some cases I find it easier to do along this side to make it a little bit simpler for myself. Some other times, like this, when we're doing these long pieces together, I like to do it on this side so I can make sure I'm laying all my seams nice and flat in the way I want them to go as I'm going. Because if it's flipped over, they might get, you know, jiggled around in there and they might flip up the wrong way as you're sewing. Alright, now from here, I'm going to bring it back over here. I can open it up, like so. And then again, we're just going to bring it up here to where we've got this one. We're just going to put them, again, right sides together. And again, this is kind of tricky, so you might want to have this ironed out if you're having trouble with this. But we do want to pull from the center. I think that's kind of the easiest. Pull from the center, make it nice and tight. And also, this is very important to make sure, if I can pull this up here, that you're lining up like these two corners parallel with these two here. I mean, it's going to be on top of this strip in the middle, but it's nice to have these lined up when you do go to flip it over, rather than, say, if I were to have it like this way. Because we don't want it, because then if we were to sew it that way and then bring it up, you know, it would be off center. So we want to make sure that we've got these two strips centered when we're going to pin them, and at the same time pulling them nice and tight. So this is kind of tricky, but you know, do your best. You got this. Doing great, you guys. Just like that, and again, pulled nice and tight. Then from there, I can go ahead and pin down these edges. Yes, yes, yes. And then we will sew it one more time, and then we are going to have a full and complete patch, complete block to work with. So you can even open up, check your work, make sure that this is all lined up correctly, and it is. Okay, so now this is where, if you've got your own project idea in mind of what you want to do with this quilt block, maybe you even want to make like 60 of them and make like a whole quilt. I mean, if you want to, go for it. I have yet to try doing that. It's a lot of work and involvement in making a whole quilt, which is why I choose simpler patterns for those that aren't as time invasive and stuff. But otherwise, if you do want to see my project idea, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video and in the thumbnail and everything, of course you're probably wondering, how do we make the pillows that I've been like this, right? How do we go about making something like this? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this the simple way with you. So this is actually optional. If you don't want to do a border and you just want to put the back on, you can just skip ahead, see how I put the back on it and fill it, and then you're pretty much done. Otherwise, I think a border like really adds a nice touch to these. So to make a border, and again, I'm going to do this a little bit simpler of a way. I've experimented with different ways of doing this, but today I want to, actually haven't done this way before, but we're going to experiment with it. You're going to need 4 of these strips for your border, 4 border strips. You can see how I cut mine. And this fun rainbow pattern I found at Hobby Lobby, shout out. Okay, you're going to need 4 of these. Cut 10 inches long, because our pillow is 10 inches long, and 2 inches wide. And if you make them a little bit longer than 10 inches long, maybe 11 might actually be ideal, but I ran out of fabric. This is all I had, so I'm gonna make do with what I got here. So making it about 10 inches long, 2 inches wide, these 4 strips. We're going to take these and put them on, just kind of like how we did the center here. We're going to put them on every side. And I like to do mine because I've got this pattern. I like to make the pattern match up. So like here, here. So I like to match my colors all the way around. I think that just makes it really nice. Like that. Yeah. Okay. Now once you've got it laid out, we're just going to, again, like we did in the center, we're just going to go on ahead and clip it or pin it to the center. And again, if you didn't already iron this, make sure you pull it nice and tight here in the center spots. So this time I'm actually going ahead and I'm going to clip all of these down first for my border, and then I'm just going to go on ahead and sew each of them all at once with the machine. But you can definitely take your time if you need to and just do one at a time. Clip and then sew, or pin and then sew, pin and then sew, right? But for the sake of time, I'm actually going to do all 4 at once over at my machine. And if you've got a little bit of overhang, that's fine. That's actually kind of nice to have here. And I'll put one in the center and then one on either side at least to keep it nice and flat. Pull it nice and tight. You know what, actually scratch that. I will go on ahead and I'll just do these 2 sides first, and then I'll come back and I'll pin my other top and bottom. So go on ahead, however you want to do it, just go on ahead and pin these on either sides, and just go on ahead and sew each of them down. And you're going to have a gap in the corner when you're done, but we'll take care of that in a second. So, and another thing to note, you guys, when you're doing these other 2 sides, when you've got the 2 corners, just go on ahead and go up to the corner. You don't need to stitch all the way across, like from here all the way across that. Again, we'll take care of the corners in a minute. So just from that corner outward, and again, I'm actually going to flip this over so it's a little bit easier for me to see. So again, just from the corner of your pattern all the way straight across. You don't need to go over top the fabric that we already put down for the other border. Alright, so now from here, let's go on ahead and finish up these corners. So to do this can be kind of tricky, but just going ahead wherever you stopped, we're going to fold them together. Now your pillow's not going to lay flat after that, but pillows are 3-dimensional anyway, right? So it's going to fold out when we stuff it. So what we're going to do is fold them together on each corner like this. You can put in 1 or 2 pins, doesn't really take very much. So that then when we bring it out, it'll be like a corner, like that. And again, do these to all 4 of your corners. Some of them might be kind of tricky to match up. Just do your best with this. And then again, when we stitch, you'll want to go from where you finished with your stitching on either side from before, all the way across, straight line. Okay. Now after that, you can go ahead and sew each of those 4 corners. We'll come back and open it up. And then all we have to do left is add the back part of the pillow on with a little bit more of this fabric or whatever fabric you want to use. And then we just need to stuff it and sew it up. So we're almost there, you guys. If you're working on this project with me, stick it out. You've got this. You can also, you guys, as you finish each corner, you can open it up and make sure you don't have any holes or gaps left behind. If you do, you can just go on ahead and restitch a little bit further in, just so that we, again, cover up those holes, because we don't want, you know, stuffing poking out when we stuff these up. Alright, so from here, hopefully you've got a really nice pillow top all ready to go. Pillow, I always say that word wrong. I've probably been saying it wrong this whole video because I'm a hillbilly at heart. Okay, pillow, get your pillow top all ready. And from here, we're going to need to make, I already cut out a back for mine. You don't have to do the same color that's your background if you don't want to. Sometimes I like to have a black on the back. I like to use black fabric, or you can use another pattern, whatever you want, just get creative with it. And this one I cut to be, I think, 14 by 14 inches. So I made mine kind of big because I wanted my pillow to be kind of thick. So the wider and taller, I mean, you'll want it to be a square because this is going to be a square anyway. You don't really want it to be too small because then you can't stuff it very well, right? Then you'll have a pretty flat pillow unless you want a flat pillow. So mine, let's see, how much did this actually turn out to be across? 12 inches, I'm assuming. It's actually 13 inches across. So I went an extra inch all the way around. I know it doesn't look like it because this isn't gonna lay flat, but I went an extra inch all the way around for my back fabric. I think that would be probably the best choice to go. You can go a little bit more if you want, but I wouldn't go any less. So more than likely, if you followed along with me thus far, you're going to have 12 inches across and 12 inches up for your top. So for your back, or excuse me, was that 12 or 13? It's about 13 for me. So yours is probably about 13 too, so that's why about a 14-inch back will probably be ideal for this. But again, if you want to go a little bit bigger, just an inch or two, like 15 by 15 or 16 by 16, I wouldn't go any more than that because then it might look more like, I don't know, it just might look a little bit odd that way. So, keeping with this 14 by 14 inch back, we are going to, and again, you're going to put right sides together. My fabric doesn't have a right side. So I'm going to flip this inside out. And I'm going to flip it over. So again, right side to right side. I got the right side of this facing down. So if you have a patterned background, put the right side, the pattern facing up. Now from here, we're going to pin each of the corners. And no, it's not going to lay flat, so just do your best. But I'm going to take this corner to this corner. I'm going to pin this first. But I'm going to show you a way to make it lay flat so that we can sew it a little bit easier. So don't panic too much about that just yet. So corner to corner, each of these 4 corners, flipping this completely inside out. Just push your seams to one side. Any side at all. Just like this. And then this corner as well. Now from here, we're going to do this for at least 3 of the sides because we need to leave an opening somewhere so that we can stuff it. Assuming you'll want to stuff your pillow. So with each of these sides, because this is a lot of extra fabric, this is what I like to do to kind of make it a little bit more even, is I take it, this back fabric, and I kind of fold it over one way or the other, doesn't really matter, like this. And then I kind of pull it until it's kind of tight and flat with the front. I know it's difficult, it's hard to understand, but I'm going to show you again. I'm going to show you my best. Taking 2 ends of this, So just taking the edge of it in 2 hands, fold it over like this, like you're making a Z. Like make a Z with it, you guys. And then fold it down. And you might need to pull the edges a little bit more. So take these 2 edges, pull it in a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, until you get it to lay flat with the top. See if I hold it like that. It's not quite there yet, but we're getting there from where you pinned it. See, we've got a little bit of gaps here. So I'm going to put it in between my fingers again, each of these creases. I'm going to pull my Z tighter and tighter. And then I'm going to fold it over top itself until I got it pretty well flat there. Pretty well flat. So I had to fold it quite a bit. And now I'm going to put a pin in that. And then I'll move on to another side, so that then when we go to sew this edge, it'll lay pretty nice and flat for us. And that way the back will have room to expand when we go to stuff it. So again, I'm going to do this to at least 3 of the sides. And then we're going to leave 1 so that we can make a little bit of a gap. So again, making a Z, pull the Z tighter and tighter, 1 in one finger, 1 in the other. 1 curve of the Z, I guess, and 1 finger, 1 curve in the other, until it feels, this is where you got to really feel it out, until it feels like it's laying flat up against the top. And that looks pretty good on my part too. That one I didn't have to do it as much. Some edges might be more than others, that's okay. Just got 1 more to do it with. So again, form a Z. Then cross your fingers like this, pull it, pull it, pull it. Nice and tight. Pull it flat. Then pull the topper against it and check to make sure it's tight enough. If you need to pull it tighter, you can. I think that one I got pretty well. I'll put a pin in that. Now, on this last side, we do want it to lay flat, but we also do want to leave an opening so that we can stuff it. So I'm actually going to do the same thing and make that Z shape, but I'm going to put it a little bit off to the side. I'm not going to make it completely in the center. I'm going to go a little bit off to the right. You can do it to the left, doesn't matter. And I'm going to make it like a smaller Z than before. I'm just going to cross it like that, just so it lays generally flat, but we do want a little bit of a gap here. This is where we're going to start and stop our stitching and fill it. So with this little tiny Z here I made, I'm going to pin that down so it doesn't move on me. Now from here, we are going to, actually I don't think I got that tightened up. There we go. Now from here, we are going to take this over to the machine and finish stitching. And remember this gap here, this is where we're going to start and stop on either side of this gap. So if you need to put extra pins in here to remember that, or just visually memorize it, between this pin here and this corner, we're going to go a little bit on this side of the corner. We can start and go all the way around. We're going to go all the way around this edge. And then we'll stop a little bit past this corner here, so that we've got a nice gap here that we'll be able to flip it inside out and stuff it. So again, coming over to the machine here and remembering where I want to start and stop around here. I usually like to leave a pretty small opening so then I don't have that much to close up later and it looks a little bit more professional when I'm done. But if you need to leave a little bit of a larger gap, you can. I'd say I usually leave about 3 inches. Just enough. I have small hands though, so I can fit my hand through 3 inches. If you need a little bit extra, maybe go 4 or 5 inches of a gap. But then again, we're going to go all the way around all these edges that we just pinned. And also don't forget to start and stop with a back stitch. You want to take your time with this, going all the way around. I know it's a lot of pins or clips to get around and a lot of seams to maneuver in and out of the way, but just do your best. And then when you get up to a corner, the top is kind of curved, but the bottom is kind of not. So if you need to pivot a little bit, you can, just to keep yourself on track. Getting pretty close to where I want to stop, so I'm just going to pivot one more time. Pivot, pivot. Anybody? And find a good spot to backstitch. And call it. All right, now you can also at this point things. Make sure you check for holes. At this point, sometimes we get some holes in there. Except for this one, because of course this is where we're going to flip it and stuff it. So, yes, make sure there's no holes in the front either at this point, because this is where it's going to become permanent. Because we're going to flip it inside out and do that. If you want to, at this point, you can also trim your strings. I don't really see a point in it because it's going to be on the inside of the pillow anyway. So going ahead and flip things, flip it and reverse it. Has to be Missy Elliott. Okay, so flipping it inside out here. And you're going to have a lovely casing for your pillow. Your pillow. Alright. Now from here, we'll want to go on ahead and start stuffing it. So use whatever kind of stuffing you like. I got a big bag of polyfill beside me here that you can pull out. This is like what you use for stuffed animals or pillows. Or if you have, I don't know what else you might use, some pillow forms that are pre-made, but then it wouldn't really fit because we only left a small hole for it. So go ahead and stuff it to your liking, as full as you would like it, or just as much stuffing as you happen to have on hand, because sometimes the fullness of my pillows is going to depend on how I ration out the stuffing between them. But I got a pretty big box of stuffing now that I wanted to make sure that I would not run out in the foreseeable future, because I'm tired of running out of stuffing. So go on ahead and stuff your pillow now. Alright. Once you've got your pillow, kind of stuffed to your liking, you can go on ahead and we're going to take that gap, that opening that we left open. You're just going to kind of pull it, and the two ends are going to fold in on each other like this. You'll take it to your machine and just right along this edge, just like that. And then from there, you'll be good to go. And just keep in mind, this is the only visible stitch in this whole pillow, so if you want to switch thread, you can. I'm actually, ironically, doing this on an area where it is already kind of gold, so for me, it's actually going to match kind of well. So we'll go on ahead and do that, and then it'll be all done. And just like that, you've got a couple, or this is just a couple, I've done a couple other of these amazing pillows. Amazing work, you guys. I hope you enjoyed following along with this tutorial. I hope you make this pattern many more times to come. This might also be a good time if you've got some strings, sticking out of your project here, to go on ahead and snip them off. But I like this heart pattern that I discovered a while ago, and I like using it in projects like this and different things. I've also done a table runner with it. It looks really nice just on anything. So let me know how you guys kind of like this first sewing tutorial I've ever really done on here. I may make more. I might make some more in the future, so just let me know. Until then though, my fellow stitchers of the world, happy stitching!